Okay, let's see if I am online. Looks like I am. Cool. So, I'm not sure if everyone or anyone can see me at all, so I'm gonna go on Twitter and ask. Let's see. Let's go on Slack too. And then I think my Twitch page is here. Yeah, okay. Looks like I am good. There's a little bit of lag, but that's probably the way Twitch is, so all good. Okay, so I should probably leave the Twitch page up. As you can see, this is my very, very, very first time twitching or doing anything live. So bear with me. All right. So I'll come and check in on the chat periodically. I've heard there's a way to like maybe pop it out. Users in chat, chat settings. Yeah, I'm not sure if there's a way to pop it out. So I'll come back like periodically and just check in there. So for now, I opened up a couple of issues on tabs, and I also opened up like this is one of the PRs, I think. Yeah, this is one PR that I opened. Super simple PR. If I can go over to the code. We had this typo like forever. I think this typo is over a year old. A little bit of background. We do a proxy in Athens, not only for upstream module proxies, so just like HTTP servers, just like Athens is, but also upstream version control systems. And most people use the version control systems as the Athens upstream for the proxy. And either way you go, it ends up having to do a checksum database proxy as well. Because when you do a go get, you will pull down code from Athens, but then the Go tool itself on the client will go up back to Athens, or by default up to the Google Go Teams SumDB, and it will ask the SumDB for the checksum and then try to compare. But if you have private code, the public Google checksum database won't have that data. It won't have checksums for your private code. So that's why Athens implements a SumDB proxy. But you can see here, we used to call it a SumDB proxy. So that's not great. It doesn't break anything, obviously, but I went ahead and just fixed it here. The workflow I'll show in a different pull request. But basically, I just went in. Obviously, I did a search and replace in VS Code. Three instances of SumDB proxy popped up, and then I just replaced all of them. And then just generally when you submit a pull request, I'll show creating a new pull request in a second. But basically we implement this pull request template in the Athens repo, and it just asks these three questions. So actually, why don't I just go and create a new pull request in a new tab here, and we can see what it looks like. So let me just take an old branch. I think this one will work. Yeah, so I'm not actually going to create the pull request, but just I'm going to show kind of what it looks like. So we've got like a little comment. Obviously, this doesn't show up in Markdown. It's just to help you if you're going ahead and creating a pull request on our repo. And it just asks you, can you fill out all the sections below? And then if you're not ready to actually merge it, and you just like submitting it up, and you just want like some initial feedback on it, or maybe you just want to like get it up there as a reminder to yourself, maybe. We just ask you to put, brackets WIP, stands for work in progress. And then we have a little bot that runs that checks to make sure that WIP, if WIP is in there, it won't allow us to merge the PR at all. So it would be up to you. If you have WIP, it's guaranteed that we're not going to merge it. But if you don't, then it's fair game for us to review, and it's fair game for us to merge as well. So we try to make it kind of easy. We ask you, what are you trying to fix? We separate that out and we ask you, how did you fix it? So for me at least, and I wrote this template out, so it kind of follows my thought process a little bit. And of course, if you think a little differently, submit a pull request to change this PR template. I'll show that in a second. So my workflow and my way of thinking is I want to figure out what the problem is, and sometimes that might be in an issue already, sometimes it might not. But either way, I write it down here before I really get into thinking about how I'm actually going to solve it. In my mind, that kind of helps me out a little bit. And then I think about, okay, well, how am I actually going to go and fix it? There's probably a million ways to fix it. So, I really want to think about, given the problem, what am I going to do about it? And then the last thing is, we say, can you do a reference to the issue? And if you put this fixes and then hashtag or number, and then the issue number, this pull request will automatically close the issue when we merge it. And that is super helpful for us as maintainers, just to do that bookkeeping, so that when stuff gets fixed, the issue automatically gets closed. So that's super awesome. So let me go into the chat and see if someone, yeah, okay. We have one person. That's cool. This is my first stream and I have one person. So thank you for joining. Super cool. Can you hear me okay and see everything okay? You can currently hopefully see my endless inception of Twitch streams. Oh, I have 17 people? Wow. Okay, well, for all of you 17 people, thank you so much for joining. Like, really, that makes me so happy and so excited to do this. Seriously, like, wow. I kind of don't have words for this. So if it's really 17 people, I don't know what the eyes mean. It says total views versus watching now. So if it's 17 watching now, or it's 3 people watching now, like either way, I kind of expected this to just be me. So even this one person in the chat, like, I'm floored. This really means a lot to me, so thank you. Yeah. So with that, that's awesome. Thank you. All right, so let me get back into it then. Yeah, wow. Thank you all for either checking it out or coming. Super awesome. So let me get back into it. I was in here on the new pull request flow. And I mentioned that this whole template is actually checked in. So let me go over to where that is checked in a new tab. If you don't know, GitHub has this feature called issue templates and pull request templates. So it's just inside of a .github folder at the top level. If you create one of those, then you create this file called pull request template, all uppercase. It's a markdown file, and you can go in and see exactly what the user will see if they submit a new pull request. So it's kind of meta. It's like if you are doing a pull request, this is what the new pull request person will see. And then you can go one level more of inception and you can pull request this file and it will show you a pull request for the pull request template. Which I might as well go show you because I don't think words are good enough to explain this. So just a note about my command line. I just discovered this hyper command line, this terminal. So actually, before I go into this, I'll go over to that. So hyper.is, it's built by the super cool people at Zeit. And it's a completely Electron based, so it's cross-platform. It's built in, I think, JavaScript. I'm not a huge JavaScript person. I don't not like it, but I just like not good at it. But I see the result here in Hyper, and it's really slick. I got it, I think, last week, and I was able to use Oh My ZSH, which is another super cool tool. And I think it is, yeah, ohmyz.sh. Another super cool tool that kind of gives me all this customization. And then on top of that, I built a couple of different aliases for GitHub, or for Git and GitHub. This GF one is for Git. This is a Git fetch. So I'm doing GF all, which is going to fetch all the upstream code from all of my remotes. And I think my two remotes right now are my fork of Athens and then Athens. So I'm going to fetch everything, and then I'm going to, after that, I'm going to do a git checkout, and I'm just going to do sample PR template change. And then I'm going to base that off of upstream. And upstream is the actual Athens, as opposed to my fork of Athens. So this is basically, I'm going to fetch all the upstream code without integrating it into my branch or any of my branches. Then I'm going to create a new branch. That's the git checkout -b. I'm going to call it this long thing, and then I'm going to base it off of upstream master. And then again, upstream is the real Athens, not my fork. So I'm going to do that. And so now we've got that new branch. I'm currently on the new branch down here. You can see that. So I'm going to cruise up to the pull request template. This is the markdown that we saw. We saw it over, where was I? I'll just go back to it in here. We saw it here. So again, like if I go to raw, it's got the comments in here, and they're the same syntax as HTML comments. They just also don't show up in Markdown either. But it's handy if you're creating a new pull request, because you'll see this in the pull request editor window, which is super nice to give people like, you know, a little bit of idea of what to do, give them instructions and so on. So let's see, that's the chat. You know what? I might try to pop this out. Move tab to new window, maybe? Yeah. And then let's see. Can I... Maybe I'll just leave it as this. I'll just leave it in the background. I'll come back to it. It'll be pretty easy. So, coming back to here, I showed the raw, and like I said, this is nice to kind of give people an idea of what to do and some instructions. So in mine, this is me opening up a PR against the instructions for how to tell other people to open up a PR. So the instructions for new PRs will show up in my PR that is using the old instructions for how to use a PR, how to open a PR. So sort of meta. So I'm basically going to say I'm going to ask people to delete this fixes if it's not if their PR is not related to an issue, just because this is kind of like an orphan if it's sitting here without an actual issue number. So it'd be cool. I've actually been meaning to do this. Kind of a little detail, but you know, if one person reads this and decides to take it out, to take this out, I'll think of that as a win. I'll be kind of happy if that happens. Just one person does it. So let's see. If it doesn't fix any issues, that's okay. You can leave this blank. Instead, I'll say If it doesn't fix any issues, that's okay. Can you please delete the below fixes number line for us? It would help us out a lot. Thanks. And then I'll go down here and be a little more clear. When you do that, if you do that, this PR, when this PR is merged, it'll automatically close the issue. So just a little bit of, I guess this is administrivia, but I'm also trying to show off kind of what's going on here when I do the pull request. So I will go in here. GS is for get status, and gdiff is get diff. So I'll go in here and just kind of confirming that my changes are actually what I thought they are, and I'm not going to be pulling in any other changes in my commit on accident. So this looks about right. This is what I changed. So as you might guess, gcom is git commit. So I like to do this kind of workflow. I do a gcom, and I specify the file or files that I want to commit. I guess it's just habit. I don't really do a git add. I just git commit stuff directly, even if it's not staged for committing. I couldn't really say why I do that. I just do. So yeah, I guess that's my style. So I'm just gonna say in this comment, updating commented out instructions for PR submitters. And then I'm gonna do another status just to make sure I'm on the right branch still. And then I'll call it origin. This is me git pushing sample PR template change. And that U is to automatically set my upstream for this branch. So from here on out, I'll be able to just git push or git pull without specifying the upstream. So I won't have to say origin or upstream or anything like that. So here we go. And almost done. It looks like that's done. So I have this new tool, the GitHub CLI. Called GH, and I'm gonna go over to that. I think it's pretty cool. Actually, let me go back in a new tab as well. So there are two tools. There's the hub tool, which has been around for a while, and then there's this new tool called CLI. So I've found out just experimenting, it doesn't look like CLI respects the pull request templates yet. I could be wrong about that, but it didn't seem like it when I tried it out. I think I tried it out early last week. But this older tool does. So I'm actually not going to use either of them. I'm going to actually show the GitHub UI when I do this. But just a little note, if you do end up using Hub, it'll do the things for you. I'm not sure about this yet, although I love this command. I'm not sure if this does the pull request templates for you yet. So, I'm looking at the chat here. Yes, maybe capitalize the issue so it's clear. Think about what the issue means. It sounds like, does this fix something? What you mean is, does it fix an issue that exists on the repo? So I'm going to try to do one of these so I can see the questions as I go. So let's see, capitalize the issue so it's clear. So what did you mean by that? Do you mean like when I write the word issue or somewhere else? maybe this isn't the best place to ask questions or not. In the comment area. Like here? Like where I'm highlighting maybe? Oh, if it doesn't fix any issues, how about this? Maybe I can do something like that. Okay, cool. Perfect. And then if your PR does fix a GitHub issue, then use the below blah blah blah. Cool. So I think I covered what you're saying, right? Or did I miss somewhere? Good point. I'll say this. Please use the below fixes number, fixes hash issue number notation below if your PR fixes multiple issues. Please put fixes, please put multiple lines of fixes number, issue number, one for each issue. Cool. For sure. Yeah, no, I didn't know if the like interactivity was going to work, and it seems like it does, and I want to hear from anyone here. So if you've got comments or questions, it seems like I can keep the chat open over here and then just resize my windows like so. And I'll resize the browser in a second too. So I can like always see the chat and I can answer in slightly more real time. So yeah, keep them coming. If you or anybody else in here has comments or questions, it seems like now I'll be able to see them. So please just keep typing if you've got stuff to talk about. So where were we? Oh, one of those things that when I first contributed to open source. So issue is unclear. Okay. Sometimes issue versus bug in some places. Oh, so saying GitHub issue, it seems like that helps you, or that would have helped you back in the day when you first started contributing, huh? Cool. So yeah, one of the things that at least I try to do in Athens is to just do exactly what you said and make it more friendly and approachable for brand new people. And I'm super glad you said this one because I never would have thought of that. It's just kind of that thing. Like I've been using GitHub for a while. I never would have thought that saying issue didn't mean GitHub issue to some people. So yeah, I'm super glad you brought that up and said that. So thank you. Thank you very much. So I made some more changes. I'm going to do my crazy thing here. GS and gdiff. GitHub pull request template. And again, just being paranoid. Looks like those are my changes. I didn't slip in any other weird changes. Adding more clarity. So since I already set the upstream, now I don't have to do that -u or specify the upstream or the branch upstream. I can just do a gpush, git push. By the way, I'll do a little semi-shameless plug. If you are interested in like these aliases that I have or any of this like oh my ZSH, that one's tough to say, um, or even my configuration for that hyper terminal. Um, this is what the hyper terminal config looks like, by the way. So anyway, if you're interested in all that stuff, my repo under my ar/org called .files, it has all of that stuff. Um, and it's like, take whatever you want from it. I super don't care. You're super welcome to it. But yeah, the tools that I use, at least, VS Code and Hyper. I sometimes use GitHub Desktop as well. These three are my go-to for sure. So highly recommend. During my everyday workflow, they save me tons of time. So, oh yeah, for sure. Uh, yeah, I'm a big believer in tools. I think, yeah, without tools, I would be using like Nano or Vim, and I'm decent at Vim, but it takes a lot of brain power for me, at least, to not have like a UI like VS Code or even Hyper. For some reason, and I won't go off too much on a tangent of this, but for some reason, having like the colors and like what path I'm in and what Git branch I'm on, like all in one place instead of having to constantly do like a Git stat, or head over to like VS Code and see the branch, or the GitHub app and see the branch. Just having it there, it's just one less context switch. So yeah, like when I'm talking about what tools I use, I'm totally not trying to like, market it or push it on you, on anybody. But I like to share it. Hopefully, one of the many things I blather about will help somebody. So steal whatever you want. I'm totally happy to share it. Okay, so that's my tangent. So I was here, gdiff, gfid. There we go. Did I push everything? I did push everything. So this one will be off. This one will be a little bit different. I'm going to go over here and I'm going to go to GoMods Athens. And this is actually pretty much most of the time, if not all the time, I really like to take a lot more time. And you'll see like I'm skipping a lot of tools this time in this case. This is the case like when I'm doing a pull request, I literally force myself to go into the Athens, the GitHub/GoMods/Athens, and I force myself to go in and click the button. And it's just like you said in the chat, like I actually want to break my cognitive process and stop coding and get out of my coding tools and get into the browser. And I want to make sure I think through at a high level, like not at the code level, what I'm trying to actually accomplish. And that's actually like why I put these pieces in. This is that inception thing, by the way, but that's actually why I put these two things here, the problem and the solution, because I really want to step back from the code and think, okay, I wrote all this stuff, like it was good, I'm happy with the code, but at the end of the day, like I had fun writing the code, but did I do anything? Because I think, did I do anything is kind of like the question, like if you've written code for a while, you've probably written a bunch of code once and then stepped back and been like, oh, I could have solved that with like, a warning message, or there was a library I could have pulled in instead of rewriting all the code myself, or something like that. So yeah. But yeah, so this is the inception point that we're at. We're like 4 layers deep now. If you check this out, if I go down here, this doesn't have my updates. And that's because when you create a pull request, GitHub will always use the pull request template if you have one. It will always use the pull request template from the master branch. And you can see here, this is definitely not the master branch on go mods/Athens. So this specific pull request is weird because if you look at the file that I changed, it is the pull request template, but it's the pull request template in my branch. So like my process here, I'm really showing it off kind of on purpose because you can see like I have to think about what is going on here. And if I were to rush through this, I would totally miss something. Even though it's like a simple change, what is it, like 2-line change? A bunch of characters change, but it's like a 2-line change. It's still like, whoa, like what did I even do? Why are my changes not showing up here? So, I got to think about it a bit. So going into the preview, this is what it used to look like. Going in here, I'm literally going to type in, my problem was that the section for how to write fixes number, that section, and also was unclear, specifically when I wrote issue, that might not have been very clear to people not as familiar with GitHub. And then there was one other thing. What did I do? So I added information about what you're supposed to do with multiple issues. I did some other stuff for clarity. But basically, this was the big thing, is like, what does issue actually mean? So in this case, it's kind of obvious how I applied the fix. And that's also like why I went down here and actually read my changes. Because in this case, the fix that I did actually was the problem too. Obviously, this would be different if I wrote code, because the code is the fix and the problem is somewhere else that inspired me to write the code. But this time, how is the fix applied? I added clarity to the comments above the what GitHub issue does this PR fix or close section. So down here, obviously this is the part that will be different in the future. But I know what I would like, and what I wrote down below was, hey, can you please delete this part that's highlighted if you're not actually fixing a GitHub issue. So I'm going to do that. I'm actually going to delete it. I'll do a little preview of my what my PR template what my PR description will look like. So that's a pro tip, I guess, for me. I do typos all the time. My keyboard is weird. Not sure if people will be able to see this, but my keyboard is weird. Let's go here. Can people see it? Yeah. My keyboard is weird. It's a mechanical keyboard that I super like, but my fingers are not super nimble. So I end up typing many more keys that I really wanted to type. So I get I go on try to type like an S, and I ended up typing A and the caps lock as well, and then everything is messed up after that. So I tend to click on preview, really read through everything. And that kind of goes back to stepping out of my coding tools, making myself not rush so much. Because that's super critical here, because this stuff people are going to read. People are going to come in here, and this will be the first thing that someone reads before they go and review my code, or in this case, my markdown. So I really want to make sure I get this not perfect, but clear enough that my typos aren't going to totally misrepresent what I'm trying to do here. Then another quick pro tip. If you're not super familiar with Markdown, these backticks, they're in the upper left of most keyboards, right below the escape key, if you've got one. They make it super easy to write I guess I refer to it as like unformatted text or code. Um, so the one that I have here, like fixes and then hashtag, it ends up looking like this in the gray, and it's in like the monospace font or whatever that's called. It's super useful not just for code, but also for like just stuff you want to represent as not regular text, but something kind of special. Um, so I said here, like, I want fixes hashtag to be like a special thing that I want to call out is something that other people would write in their PR descriptions and not the actual text in my PR description. So that's pretty much it for this PR. I'm actually going to create it. Um, yeah, I mean, another thing, like, I didn't really do this super intensely on this one because I knew that this was the smallest change. Um, but yeah, I just go through and just take one last look with uh, last look at all the things that are going to be submitted in this PR. Um, this is actually pretty important if you have like more than two or maybe more than three commits. Because remember, I made some changes in this first commit, and then there were questions in the chat that got me thinking, and I made more changes after that. But this, in the actual changed file, in the diff of the changed file, is not just one of those commits. It's like taking both of the changes in both commits and then combining them into one set of changes and then comparing that whole set with master. So you really got to check this and just make sure, does this look good? Did I make the right changes that I wanted to make? Am I missing a commit that I might not have pushed up to my branch on my fork? Stuff like that. So just take your time on this. I'll be honest, sometimes I don't take my time and I end up like pushing just something that I just didn't do right. And that's okay. Like we're nice. We're nice on the Athens group. Um, we understand people are busy and sometimes we're doing this work like at night after work. We're tired. We have some folks who have kids and we're doing it while the kids are running around. We get it. If you have to rush through something, that's cool. You have to rush. If you can't go and like take your time and look through everything, that's cool too. But the more you do, the faster your PR will get in, and that's good for everybody. So do what you can. I'm the Bob Ross of open source. All right, I'm gonna be honest. I've seen a picture of Bob Ross plenty of times because I'm an engineer and I guess engineers like Bob Ross, but I don't know who he is. So it's not the picture. So yeah, it's a person, right? The way he talks about painting. Okay. Should I create this pull request and then like go YouTubing on live stream right now? All right, I'll do my YouTubing offline, and then I'll come back and be even more Bob Rossi for all of you. I feel like now I owe it to everyone here to be more Bob Rossi, so I will. So yeah, I'm ready now. I'm ready to create my pull request. I am a maintainer on this repo, so I see a lot of these things. If you're not, you won't see a lot of this. So don't get super worried about reviewers, assignees, labels, projects, blah, blah, blah. Don't get super worried about that. Most of the time, we don't even care what is here because we treat all the pull requests as like we need to look at these. We need to give everyone feedback. We don't prioritize certain ones over others. As the project gets bigger and we get more contributions, we will go in here and label stuff. And we do from time to time when we have a larger workload of pull requests to review. But at this point, time of year, in this point in the project, Super, don't worry about it. We'll take care of it. So now I'm going to click the big green button. Can I get a drum roll? So there we go. Click it. It's going to load, blah, blah, blah. So yeah, this thing is live now. People can see it. I think a lot of our reviewers are Eastern time. So what is that? 7:10 p.m. for them. We've got other reviewers in Europe. It's super late for them. So this PR is not going to get reviewed. And just keep that in mind. We've got contributors and reviewers. Let's see. We have contributors from US, Canada, I think 4 or 5 European countries, Italy, I want to say Italy, UK, maybe Germany, and the Netherlands, I think. And then we've got folks in China. And yes, that's a good point. Those are just like the core maintainer reviewers. Those are the folks that can go in and like set labels and stuff. But we have a lot of times anybody in the community who comes and does reviews. And those reviews are more important than our reviews. Basically, what we do is we come in, we make sure that there are no outstanding questions or comments or requests to fix stuff from anybody. And everyone's feedback is taken just as seriously as anybody else's. So we do that administrivia and make sure like there's no comments that have been unaddressed. There's no questions that are not answered yet. And then if that's the case, if everything's answered, everything's addressed, then we'll go in, we'll check to make sure all of our CI and CD checks are done, are ready to go. And then most of the time, we'll just go ahead and click squash and merge. Sometimes if it's a little bit unclear, if the PR submitter is ready to have this thing go into master, in those cases, we'll say, hey, we're ready to go on our side, but we just want to make sure, are you ready to go? Is this done to you? Do you have anything you want to add? But most of the time, if it looks ready to go, boom, it's ready to go. So that all being said, if you are interested in this project, but you don't want to write code, and you don't want to write documentation or anything like that, seriously, the only thing you need is a GitHub account. And you just go to this URL, github.com/gomods/Athens, and just click on this pull requests tab. It'll take you to a view that looks like this. Just click on one of them and ask a question or write a comment or ask how something works. And that's pretty much it. That's all you need to do to contribute to our project. So I got my PR, and yes, I will go and talk about the automatic stuff right now. So we've got a bunch of stuff in this list. We have Netlify here, and Netlify we use, let me go to their site, their homepage. Netlify we use for our documentation site. So our documentation site is docs.gomods.io. You basically go here and this does a little intro to how Athens works and what it is. And then it's got a bunch of different instructions on how to install it and run it, how it works internally. There's a whole section on contributing as well. So like this is the site. It's a completely static site. There's no dynamic stuff. There's no functions running in no database, nothing like that. And it just so happens that Netlify is super good at that specifically. So we use Netlify to do all that. And Netlify basically, every time we commit, we open a PR with commits in it to be really specific. Netlify picks that up and it grabs our docs. And our docs are in a folder conveniently called docs. It grabs our docs and then it builds them. And we use a specific tool called Hugo for docs. I can tangent into Hugo in a second. I probably will, and you'll learn that about me, is that I'm a tangent machine. But basically, it's a static site generator called Hugo. And Netlify knows how to do Hugo. So it'll go in and it will take our docs folder. It will build the static site using Hugo. That spits out a bunch of HTML and CSS and images. It could spit out JavaScript, but we don't use any JavaScript on our site, I don't think. I'm pretty sure we don't, but don't quote me on that. And once it's done all that, it builds a deploy preview. So every single PR that has ever been submitted to Athens, I think that's probably over 1,000 at this point, maybe like 900 or something. I'm just looking at this number here. Every single one of them, Netlify has given us a preview of what the documentation will look like if we were to merge that PR into the master branch right now. So they always say like deploy preview and then the number of the PR and then, .gomods -athens blah, blah, blah. So this is like incredibly useful for anyone who wants to go in and do a review on a PR that changes documentation. Super useful. So basically what you would do is like go into the files change tab, and then you would go and look at like what file was it? Is it like a file that has to do with installing? Okay, great. You would go in here, you can read through the entire thing. And this is like the final product, including the changes that the person who submitted the pull request wants to have in master. And then once you get a feel for what it looks like, you can then go back into the files changed and you can be like, oh, okay, like I see where those changes actually fit in on the final page. So now I've got that context and I can go and figure out, hey, does this make sense? Like I know what this is actually going to look like on the final render of the page. Maybe we can say it a little differently, or maybe we can put it on a new line or whatever. The sky's the limit on that kind of thing. But yeah, Netlify, the automaticness and the preview stuff is really useful for us. So that's one. Now moving up the chain, Drone is our, that's the heavy lifter. That does our Linux-based CI tests. So going into Drone, it does a lot. You can see like there's a step. Each one of these check marks is a step. So the first step is always like pull down the code. And this is a CI/CD system. Like if you're familiar with Travis CI or Circle CI or the new GitHub Actions, which is something that Athens is probably going to move part of our infrastructure to, or you're familiar with Jenkins, or the new-ish Azure pipelines. The list goes on. There are lots of CI/CD systems. We've been using this one for almost 2 years, I think. And I'll show you the config file that this thing runs. But basically, it does the clone to get the code down. It then starts up a bunch of background Docker containers, Mongo, Minio, blah, 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 all the way down the list. Then it actually starts up Athens itself, and then it runs a script to check that individual requests to Athens, which is an HTTP server. It runs a script to check that all of those different requests actually return the right stuff. So this is kind of like an end-to-end or possibly integration test, depending on how you want to look at it. But then also this thing also runs unit tests as well. So we've got a big unit test suite that doesn't do the end-to-end stuff. It doesn't start up at Athens in the background and run a script, but instead it tests stuff at like the lower unit level, makes sure that URL routing works right, and it makes sure that the database interaction stuff works right at a fundamental level, that kind of thing. So that's Drone. Going up the list, we have AppVeyor. AppVeyor does the exact same thing as Drone, except on Windows, not Linux, Windows. AppVeyor is another basic CI/CD system. It even looks a little similar to Drone, a little bit. We use it because Windows. We want people on Windows to be able to use Athens as well. that is up there. Going up, just to complete the the set of CI/CD systems we use. We also use Circle CI. In Circle CI, you can see it's kind of the same idea as Drone. The really important thing here is this shell check. This shell check is a program to basically lint bash scripts. And this is shell checking a really specific bash script that runs a different kind of end-to-end tests. This is running end-to-end tests that run inside of Kubernetes. And that's because we offer some pretty good support for Kubernetes inside of Athens. And that'll be a completely different live stream or screencast, depending on how deep I'm going to go into things. We've got another Circle CI job over here. And that is actually running that E2E-kind script. So yeah, I'm a super big believer in shell check as well. So purple heart from me for sure. But yeah, I mean, we're using it here to make sure that our stuff is right, that our script is actually going to run the right stuff essentially, and that it's well formatted too. And then we go in and we actually run it. And this is actually installing our Helm chart. So if you're familiar with Kubernetes, Helm is by far the biggest sort of package manager and release manager for Kubernetes apps. And so Athens provides a Helm chart for you to install Athens onto your Kubernetes cluster. And this is the CI job that tests to make sure that our Helm chart actually does the job of installing Athens properly on Kubernetes. So there's a lot going on here. And the cool thing is, like, I don't even know all the things that are going on right now with this script. It's been a while since I touched it. There's been a lot of other people that go in and mess around with it and do stuff that I don't even know was possible. But I don't have to worry because really at this point, I'm making a change to a PR template. It has nothing to do with Helm, but I still get that green check mark. So if I am doing some changes to Helm or the Helm chart, then I go in and I care about this. But at this point, I kind of don't. I just want to make sure it's a green check mark. So I'm pretty happy about like this list of green check marks at this point. So we've got our WIP bot. That's the one I mentioned a while ago. But basically that's the one that checks, hey, is there a WIP in front of or after at the end of my pull request title. And if there is, it'll be a red X mark. And if there is not, we get the green check mark, which is what we've got here. Now this one is actually old. So I actually have to remove this one. I'll do that a little bit later, probably after the screencast. But what happened is we moved our Netlify account from my personal team to an open source account. So Netlify offers open source accounts. It lets us have a team that has a bunch of people all collaborating on the Netlify team. And it lets us do that for free, which I super appreciate. So thank you, Netlify. And I super appreciate it because otherwise that costs money. Yes, so let me pull up the Netlify open source plan. I never can remember the URL. So yeah, this is it. Basically, the TLDR of all this stuff is you have to have a good license. You can't be a for pay project. You got to have a code of conduct, and you've got to mention that your stuff is being hosted on Netlify. And then they give you a form to fill out. And at that point, their support has been super good. When I did this, I filled out the form. I think I heard back a day later. And then I had a question to follow up with. And then I heard back the next day after that. So we're talking like 3 days to get from my personal team that I was paying for over to their open source plan, which is the equivalent of like a pretty good plan that otherwise you'd have to pay for on Netlify. So it was just during the move. Netlify is still plugged in from my old team, and that's what this I think these are called GitHub statuses. That's what this status is from. And then this one's the new one. That's why it's prefixed with netlify / gomods - Athens. This one's the new one, so this is one I care about. I'm not actually sure how I'm going to get rid of this. But if I figure it out, then I'll either write it up or I'll do another screencast. I keep calling these screencasts. I'll do another live stream on how to do it. But yeah, super recommend the open source account if you've got like a docs site for your project. I reach for Netlify for absolutely everything I can use it for. And that's like not an ad. I don't work for Netlify. I don't have an interest in Netlify beyond just like it makes my life super easy. You connect your GitHub account, you choose the project you want, and that's pretty much it. It's up to you to write the docs. But otherwise, they host it. They do the previews, they do the rollbacks. They have a CDN. You can even buy a domain on Netlify if you want. We did not. We had a domain already, and we just pointed the name servers over to Netlify. Yeah, I mean, a lot's going on back there in Netlify that I'm just glad like they do it on their back end, and I don't have to care about it. We just write docs, and thank you, Netlify. So yeah, I'm gonna close this stuff. Does Netlify do free custom domain for OSS? They do not. They let you buy domains on their platform, but they won't give you the domain for free. I don't know why. I don't know if that's coming or what. But yeah. Don't mean buy. Oh, do you mean will they donate a domain to you? Oh yeah. Yeah. So let me go in to Netlify and show that. So let me go to the right team. Actually, as a small ad for Netlify, I guess, I co-run the Portland Go meetup, and we're moving the Portland Go meetup site to Netlify right now. Anyway, I'm going to go over to the Athens site, the Athens team. And if you go into the domains tab, actually, let me go back to my team. I haven't moved the Athens domain over. But what we did was we made the gomods.io domain originally on GoDaddy, I think, and now it's on Namecheap. But you basically just point your name servers. Yeah, it's right here. You just point on Namecheap. I pointed the name servers over to Netlify. And then at that point, Netlify, you're pointed to Netlify, and Netlify keeps track of your DNS records for you. I actually didn't put any of these in. Netlify just knew. Because these were in Namecheap before, Netlify picked them up and brought them over. So the only way this is easier is if you literally buy it through them. But they're pretty pricey. I think the markup is pretty hefty if you buy it through Netlify. So if you've got one already or you're thinking about starting a new project, unless you're looking for like super easy plug and play, I would for sure go buy it on Namecheap, or I want to show off my new favorite domain registrar, Pork Bun. So just on their logo, on their mascot alone, I would go with them. They're also a local company in Portland, so I like them for that too. Anyway, that's a tangent. I love Pork Bun. Check them out. So yeah, going back to Netlify. This is what it looks like if you're like an admin. If I go over to Athens, I can actually see all of the deploys and the builds. So like the very most recent thing we deployed to, or we merged to master, I can see kind of the details of everything. Like build logs, Really what I look for is site is live. If I don't see site is live, then I care about everything else. Otherwise, I don't really care that much. Um, yeah, I mean, otherwise, like I can see, let me get rid of that thing. Otherwise, I can see, files uploaded. We have some redirect rules. Those are slightly more advanced thing, and I don't even think we need them anymore. I like looking at the build time. 32 seconds, pretty good considering building the site into HTML on my machine. I think it takes like 10 seconds already, I think. And they have to handle like probably thousands or maybe even more than that of builds across their entire platform all at once. So anyway, I like Netlify. I'll stop talking so much about Netlify now. And let me go back. So I think I've been doing this now for an hour. I'm having a super good time. So why don't I go in and let me try to write some code. And I still have my water, so my voice won't die out anytime soon. So I'm going to close some tabs because a lot of open tabs sometimes drives me crazy. Blah, blah, blah. I talked about this one. This one was basically the same process. I'm changing code instead of the some markdown. So I paid a little bit more attention. I paid a little more attention to our drone and AppVeyor jobs. Just because it's code, I want to make sure it ran tests and that kind of thing. Let me go in here and see, do I have any open open pull requests that are actually doing stuff with code? This one. I think this one is me. Yeah. That one's a little complex. Let me save that for another time, actually. Let me go in here. This one is related to our support for Athens using Azure's blob storage to store module code, to store Go code. So if you're not familiar with Azure blob storage, it's kind of the equivalent of Amazon's S3 or Google's cloud storage. It's designed for storing binary blobs, hence the name, and then accessing them at scale. So the way that Athens works using it is when you request a Go dependency from it, it will look into blob storage, see if it's there. If it's not there, it'll go and fetch it from upstream. Most of the time that means from a version control system. It'll pull it down into memory, Athens memory. Athens will bundle it up, send it up to Azure Blob Storage, and then it will live in Azure Blob Storage forever. So if you request it, Athens will grab it from version control and then store it. And then if 1 million people request it 10 seconds later, Athens will only get it from Azure. It won't get it from anywhere else like a VCS or anything like that. And Athens backends are pluggable. So we've got one for Azure, we've got S3, we've got the Google Cloud Storage, but we also have like MongoDB and a couple of other open source blob storage systems. At one point, we had like PostgreSDB for storing big binary blobs for whatever reason. That didn't work out, but we had it. That was cool. We've got disk-based storage, so a lot of people run in the cloud and attach a disk to their VM. So this one is code. It's interesting for two reasons. It's more code, but also it's failing. So I have no idea why this is failing. The first thing I'm going to do, I always do this and then hope that it magically succeeds after it's already failed. This button here, it means that there have been commits to master, and I'm trying to merge my branch into master. So it means that there have been commits from master that are not in my branch. So GitHub makes it pretty easy to bring those commits into my branch. So what this button means is GitHub checked to make sure that if they were to pull all the master commits into my branch, there would not be any conflicts. And then, since it knows that, it says, hey, we'll just do it for you. Like, you don't have to pull down the code from this branch and pull down master and then do this merge manually. We can do it on our servers. So I love that, because if I can get their servers to do a bunch of work for me, and then their servers will rerun all of these checks that I showed before, hey, maybe, just maybe, this new code and these new PR runs, these new CI runs, maybe they'll succeed. So this is my first like fingers crossed moment. Because I'm lazy, like I really hope that things will work out. So you can see all the CI CD jobs fired up again. And basically I'm looking for this one, because this is the one that was failing before. So I'm actually going to click on details in a new tab, and we can watch it go. So nothing too exciting yet. It's fetching the code from GitHub at this point. And in the meantime, I'll go locally and I'll check out, I'll switch to my other branch. So GC, oh yeah, well, thank you for coming. This has been great. I really appreciate you coming. I'm so happy that this went well, and I'll be doing more. So I've got this GCO alias. That means git checkout. So git checkout is what you use to, oh, I've got other folks watching. Cool. Well, other folks, we're going to continue on. So stick around if you can. Yeah, so GCO, that's git checkout. That's what you use to switch to another branch, in case you've never used that one before. So my branch is called Azure-blob-test. So we've got that going on. Now I'm in here. I'm going to git status. So what this means is my local branch is tracking my upstream branch. So origin is me, my fork. If I show my remotes, by the way, I don't know why it's -v. I think that's probably verbose. Who knows? Honestly, I'm not super curious, so I just go with it. But yeah, so git remote -v. This shows me basically these are nicknames for these URLs. So I always do this when I'm working on an open source project. I call origin my fork, and then I call upstream the project, like the project that I'm trying to contribute to. So yes, I could have origin be this, and that's because like I have permissions to push directly to gomod/Athens, but I don't want those permissions. Actually, on this machine, I probably should not have these be the SSH URL, because that would mean that I can accidentally push directly to master on Athens. So I don't want that. Instead, I want to always be pushing and pulling from origin, because that's me. So basically, back to up here, I always make sure that the tracking branch, so you can see tracking remote branch, I always make sure that first it's tracking from origin and not from upstream. And second, that it's tracking the same branch with the same name up on origin, the same name as down on my local machine. Those are the two things I always look out for. The most important thing, the best thing, the thing that I always make sure is it's on origin and it's not on upstream. So, give me a second. All right. So, going back, let me close some windows here, or some tabs. And then going back into the pull request, I'm going to refresh, because what happened when I did the update branch, it brought in new commits. And when it brings in new commits, that means that this diff might be different. So my changes that I made are not different. But since there are changes on master that this PR hadn't considered yet, I have to refresh to see now what has changed. So it happens to be pretty much the same diff as it was before. So I'm going to go over to the only file that I changed, and that was package stash with Azure Blob test. So I'm going to do, I'm on a Mac, so if you hit Command P, you can go to like the quick open file drop down, I guess. And you just start typing. I didn't have to type much to get it to autocomplete. Super cool. I'm super into that. So just going back here, it looks like this is not really a change. I added a new line, I guess. I don't know why I did that. Usually I add new lines, just force of habit, so cool. I added a testing.t. This takes in a testing.t. Looks like I did that so I could do a log. That's good. It looks like what was happening before is I had this, the test had this check to see if this environment variable was there. And if it was not there, we always just skipped the test. So this is how we enabled the test to automatically do like integration level tests. Basically, we turned those on by checking for an environment variable. And if it didn't have that, then it would basically fall back to just the unit level tests. So that's what this pattern is doing. And same deal, like we finish it out. Basically, this whole pattern is doing, that check to see, hey, are we at the integration level or are we at the unit level? So I'm not super worried about this. Just having remembered what I did in the past, this is not really this was a side thing that made the test a little easier to follow. But not necessarily exactly what I wanted to do. So that's why I'm going through it. But really, this was the core of it. If I go back to the description, let me go back here. Yeah, this is why we did it. So it turns out that you can't use underscores in Azure Blob stores. They have this concept called a container. The container is like a group of blobs. So when you name the container, it looks like you can't use underscore. So bummer, but pretty simple fix. This is the core of the fix. Excuse me. So yeah, I got some other stuff in here. It's not always super good to add in like other changes besides like the core thing you're looking for. But it's still okay. It's not the end of the world to like add some more logs, especially in tests, because obviously you might know the more logs you have in tests, the easier it will be to figure out what code you wrote is, where the code is failing, especially if you just made new changes. So adding logs in a test, not too big of a deal. So I kind of skipped over those when I was looking, but you know, they're here. And then like, okay, this is really what I was looking for. So cool. Now I'm going to go back to the front page of the PR and recheck my CI. Nope, it's still failing. So I remember I pulled it up here and I'm going to go to the X. Pretty clear that failed. And there's a lot of tests, which is cool, but it's not so cool when you have to find what failed. So it's saying on line 96, the Azure account name is not provided, falling back to Athens. So that's interesting. I'm going to do a search here. If you're not familiar with VS Code, it's built on Electron, so this is not really right, but in my eyes, there's a browser in here. So if someone's watching who's super familiar with Electron, please forgive me because I know that's not true. But I kind of like think of it that way, to be completely honest. So I do like on a Mac, this is like Command plus and Command minus, and it's just like in a browser, like makes the text bigger or smaller. If you're on Windows, it's Control plus and Control minus. But also like Command F on a Mac or Control F on Windows, those still work too. And then as a little side note, if you do Shift Command F, that's search the entire workspace. In my case, I've got Athens open in VS Code, so this will search all of the Athens code base. So like, just to show it off, ooh, that's me fat fingering stuff right there. So just to show it off, I'll copy Azure account name into here. And we've got a ton of Azure account names that pop up. Oh yeah, check it out. This is the drone CI config. So I'm going to leave this open because I bet this is going to be part of the problem. It's definitely not part of the solution, so it's part of the problem. So Azure account name not provided. This is where that log is. And then it says falling back to Athens. All right, so I'm going to be honest. I forgot what the account name even is supposed to be. Obviously, it's not Athens. I actually don't know. Like, this account key actually might be wrong too. I don't know. But I'm pretty sure we can go into the job for, or the list of all of the CI jobs for Athens. That would be here. Go into settings. That's interesting. Azure account name is there. But here it's saying it was not provided. That's interesting. You know what? You know what they say, if you tried turning it off and back on again, I'm literally going to try that. I'm going to delete it and then try to put it back. I'm just going to call it Athens. Like, I don't know what this is now, but I'm just going to try. Azure accounts name. I'll delete that. Athens. Then I'm just going to allow pull requests because I need this thing to be available to pull requests in order for that job to run. So we'll do that. And this one has a red flag for me too, because it's not available in pull requests. And I know that, oh, maybe not. It needs Athens Azure account key. Oh yeah, there's, okay, so that's available to pull requests too. So I don't know where this thing is used. Let me find out because that's weird. It is, that's the drone config. Oh, charts push. So this is Helm charts. Okay, so I don't care about that right now. I'm not working on any Helm chart stuff. So, okay. Azure account key and account name, both available to pull requests. So let's go back. It's weird that this failed even though it was supposed to be there. And let's see, just to make sure. You have to do this thing where you pass in a pull request from a secret. You have to like pass it into your job. And what was it called? Azure account name. Is that what it is? Yeah, okay. So back to the drone.yaml. Boom. Okay, that's the problem. It's called Athens Azure account name in here. All right, so tracing this back, let me just go open up the main thing, go over to settings. All right, so it's called Azure account name in the secret. So that's this. And then this is what it will be called as the environment variable in the code. All right, so we've got Azure account name here. And then what was the account key thing called? It's called Athens Azure account key. And the code expects it to be Athens Azure account key. So, okay. So yeah, the exciting life of a programmer, I'm basically just finding and replacing strings. Okay. So let's cross our fingers. Another alias, by the way, CLR, that's clear, but it's clear with a few more bells and whistles. So clear, if you do clear, it clears the screen, but you can still scroll up. On some terminals, I cannot, because I've configured my terminal to be that way. But CLR actually deletes all the stuff behind you. It puts in a special character that doesn't show it, to be specific. And then it puts the terminal prompt at the top of the screen. So that's in my .files repo too. I don't use it a ton, especially on Mac. You can do a Command K. So if you do this, Command K will do basically the same thing, but helps me exercise my fingers sometimes to remind me the alias is there. So I'm gonna do my git stat. Make sure my stuff is there and nothing else. It looks like it. And before I do my commit, check this out. It's behind by 12 commits. So I can do my G pull. It's behind by 12 commits because on GitHub servers, I did that thing where I updated, and that pulled the commits in to the remote branch, the branch on GitHub. I haven't pulled those down into mine yet, so I'm going to do that. Oh, all right. So, blah, blah, please commit your changes. I forgot about this. So, a couple things. What I usually like to do is just commit. And then if there's conflicts, there's conflicts. So, changing the name of the So I did the commit. That is not yet on the remote. I'm pretty sure that my G pull is going to end up conflicting. Well, I guess not. Cool. It didn't conflict. Sweet. So I'm going to do a G push. And that kicked off the PR build. Where are you? There it is. That's one thing. It always like randomly reorders the checks. I don't know why. But, you know, we're programmers. We always find something to complain about. So we're going through our stuff, and I'm going to have to go in a second. So let's all cross our fingers this worked. If it didn't work, this PR is not super pressing. So I'll come back to it next time I live stream. And if it doesn't work now, we can fix it later. Oh, man. We're all working from home, so make sure you do some shoulder rolls or something. Keep yourself limber while you're sitting all day. Yeah, it's super important. At work, you know, you always get up and walk around, talk to people. I've been working at home for some number of years, a bunch of years. And it's possible to sit here for 8 hours without even getting up to go to the bathroom. So if you're working at home and you haven't worked at home before, set an alarm and get up sometimes. It's pretty important, especially when you get older and your back starts hurting and your shoulders start cracking. So, we've got our services starting up. This one is taking longer, which I feel like is a good sign. Maybe not. That one is more of a hopeful statement than than a fact. It's taking longer, so I hope it's working. But yeah, this would be a funny one. I just had to get the names right. It's like every bug in the world has something to do with naming. I think that's why they say naming and cache invalidation are like the two hardest problems. I think that's what they say. Anyway. This is the Mongo logs. It looks like Mongo's getting some action. Oh, there we go. Now what happened? Same thing. Look at that. That is weird. Alrighty. So I'm going to come back to this. Yeah, I'm going to have to come back to this one. I have no idea what's wrong. So this is PR number 1498. If anyone has an idea of what's wrong, go ahead and comment in there. And if you want, you can branch off of my branch and submit your own PR. Like, I'm not going to be offended if you want to finish this work off for me. Or DM me, and I'll give you access to my Athens fork. And you can just push right to this branch if you want to. So before I go, we in Athens are always looking for and happy to welcome new contributors. There are a bunch of users of this project. Going over to issue 1323, there are, I don't know. Well, the Container Store is at least one of the users. But there are others too. I think the New York Times uses Athens. So I'm saying all this not to like plug Athens. I'm just saying it so you know that if you want to come and work with us, everyone, absolutely everyone is welcome. If it's your first day writing Go code, we'll help you get used to Athens and get used to writing Go. If you have written code for 25 years and you want to join a different project, we welcome you just the same. So if you want to join, you're welcome. And you'll be working on something that is actually used in the community. So I really hope that you consider joining. My alias on Slack and Twitter and GitHub is all the same. It's ARSCHLES. So DM me on Twitter. My DMs are open. Or if you're on the Gopher Slack channel, if you're on the Gopher Slack channel, my alias on Slack is the exact same, ARSCHLES. If you're not on the Gopher Slack channel and you're interested in just coming and like lurking and learning, or just like saying hi on the Athens channel, you are absolutely more than welcome to do that. So if you go to this link, invite.slack.golangbridge.org, you have to register and a bot will get back to you, I think within like a minute or something. And you'll be in. You can talk to us on Slack. The channel is the #Athens channel. So when you go into Slack, you won't have channels in your list of favorites. You'll have like, I think a Slack bot channel, and maybe I think you'll be in like a general channel. All you have to do is go in here, press Command T, and then just type in Athens. Scroll down there, type in Athens, and you'll be in, and you can just come talk to us. We're here most of the day, and our days are North American time zones and European time zones, and some folks in Asian time zones, particularly East Asia, Southeast Asian time zones. So just come say hi if you want. Like, that's literally, you can do anything from that to going and reviewing pull requests, which everyone's welcome to do, all the way to code contributions. So be our guest. Come talk to us. There are absolutely no limitations to who can join. And absolutely everyone is welcome. And just to repeat myself, if you have questions about how to join, or you're on the fence, or you just want advice, please DM me on Twitter @ARSCHLES. My DMs are open for questions like this. All right, everybody, I am going to drop off right now, and I will tweet next time I do a stream. It will probably be 1 week from today. So I'll tweet out pretty soon on when I'm going to do it next. Thank you all for watching so much. You have made my month, especially during a hard month. I really needed that. I hope that you guys got something out of this, that you all got something out of this. Thank you so much for coming. I will hope to see you next time. Take care, everybody. Stay healthy, stay safe, and wash your hands. Take care.